Okay, so let's get to the truth now and the facts. Okay, and you brought it up at the introduction, this unmasking. So let me explain to everybody what goes on. The National Security Agency, which can listen in on any phone, intercept any text anywhere in the world they want to, by law cannot spy on you or me or your listeners if they are American citizens. They cannot listen to our phone calls or read our texts. But they can listen in and do, for instance, to Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador to Washington when he was ambassador. They ought to. They listen in on every phone call and take note of everybody who calls him. And the way the system works is the intercepts record every phone number that talks to Sergei Kislyak's telephone. And when that phone number correlates to an American citizen, it's put on a call sheet as American number one. Not the guy's name, just the phone number and American number one. Right. Unmasking is a request by any intelligence agency, FBI, CIA, any of them who want to can ask, will you please give us the identity of American number one, because we want to see who Kislyak is talking to. And that's the unmasking. And on an average year, there are 17,000 requests to unmask Americans that are granted. And that is not spying on Mike Flynn. Mike Flynn was talking to the Russian ambassador, and the intelligence community wanted to know who was talking to Kislyak, and then they wanted to hear what he was talking about. That's not spying on Americans. They're spying on the Russian ambassador. It is not a crime. It is not a scandal. It's, in fact, they're doing what they're supposed to do, which is spying on the enemies of the United States, especially when the enemy is in the embassy in Washington plotting stuff against us. We want to know what he's doing, and there's nothing wrong with it. So when I asked you, tell me the crime and who did it, you couldn't answer me because you don't know, because there is no crime. There's no crime. This is Trump.
The Washington...
No, Phil, this is Trump making up an insane bunch of crap to divert everybody from his terrible handling of the pandemic. He's trying to get you off of that onto something else that gets you all ginned up, which it does. It gins up everybody who watches Fox. All I hear from them is, oh, my God, what about the unmasking? As if this is some terribly odd thing to do. It's not.
Would you say that Michael Flynn was an intelligence official?
Not when he was talking to Kislyak. No, he was.
All right. So
he was on the Trump transition team, and he'd been designated. He was going to become the national security advisor, but they weren't in office yet. This was a month before.
Now, I agree. I'm not all up to date on everything, but I was reading the Washington Examiner. Was documenting this, excuse me, and you're right. You know, they didn't name names because they're behind the curtains right now, and they did talk about the unmasking. But my question is this, John. I mean, this was done under the pretext of national security, and I just
it is. Listen. On the 30th of December, 2016, Obama, who's still president, put sanctions on Russia for their interference during the election. He closes up a house up here in New York that the Russians used, and he threw out 20 or 30 Russian diplomats and put more sanctions on, too. And right away, Flynn makes his phone call to the Russians. Now, the Obama team doesn't know who makes the phone call. All they know is somebody called Kislyak and talked to him. They want to find out, who is it? That's their job. They're supposed to want to know who is meddling with the Russians.
But that is a hell of a lot different than what happened here.
No, that is what happened here. That is exactly what happened.
Okay,
here. And that's
maybe
why
that
you mentioned
happened,
Brennan.
John.
That's
Wait a
exactly what they're supposed to do.
No. That whole era, the Obama era, you had folks through that whole era, not just on Trump, who used this,
They didn't do anything to
FISA
Trump.
as
They
a
never
way to
did anything
spy on. Listen, political opposition, it happens with everybody.
Now, wait a sec. We had to bring up FISA. We're on to Carter Page. And Carter Page, since 2014, had been going back and forth to Russia and admitted in an interview at the time that he was an agent for the Kremlin. The FBI was on to him in 2014. Donald Trump's not running for president. Trump's not a part of it. It's Carter Page. They were on to him then. They're doing their job. They're supposed to watch the Kremlin. What are they doing to the Kremlin, to America? And when they see an American man, citizen, over there dispensing advice and coming back here, they watch him. They want to know, what's he up to? He admitted he was an agent of the Kremlin, not a spy agent, but a representative agent type of agent. They're watching him, and then boom, he joins the Trump campaign. He's in a meeting in Washington with Trump, where Trump praises him as a great energy expert and foreign policy expert. What do you want our security services to do? They're watching the Russians, and now they see an agent for the Russians sitting in a meeting with the Republican nominee for president. Now, they never did anything to hurt Trump. They never leaked that out. They never leaked out that the FBI was looking at the Trump campaign. None of that was ever leaked out. It did leak out that Hillary and her investigation was reopened. That probably cost her the election. But what would have happened if the FBI had also leaked out, hey, by the way, we're looking at Trump and his team and Flynn and all of them? They never did. They never did a thing. If Comey hadn't reopened that email investigation, Hillary probably wins that election.
Oh.
Somehow Trump has taken all this and flipped it around and made it out like the FBI was against him.
Well,
they weren't against
why
him.
did the President
Obama
turn to Comey and say, yeah, continue to secretly investigate my chief political rival so I can act against him? Why would he
never
say
said he never said any such thing. He never. Where are you getting a quote like that? Where's that quote coming from? You're making it up. He never said investigate my chief political rival. He's leaving politics. The election's over. He's finished his 8 years as president. Donald Trump is not his, quote, chief political rival. What are you talking about? He's off to build his library and make $50 million from Netflix. He doesn't care about Donald Trump. But when he finds out that a member of the Trump team is talking to the Russians while Obama is still president, you got to ask yourself, well, who's the president now? We can only have one president at a time. And should a guy from Trump's team be telling the Russians, don't do anything, just wait till we get in office and then you can work with us? I mean, is that really the right thing to do? Is that why he lied to the FBI about it? And why he lied to Pence about it? And why he lied to two different federal judges about it?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think the Steele dossier was made up?
No, the Steele dossier was not. It was what he always said it was. It was raw, unevaluated intelligence that he had gathered from people in Russia about Donald Trump. Some might be good, some might be bad. And he never claimed all of it was accurate or true. And it had nothing to do with Carter Page. That's a whole separate thing. Carter Page was already on the FBI radar 2 years before Trump was running for president. There was no Steele dossier. None of that had happened yet. This is preceding all that.
So let me ask you finally about this. Do you think that this collusion narrative was true or a farce?
I think I don't think it's a farce. I think I think the Russians did want to help Trump. They hated Hillary. They wanted to help Trump. Doesn't mean Trump asked them to help him. Doesn't mean necessarily that Trump was in on a collusion in any way, although he did publicly say, hey, Russia, if you're listening, it would be great if you came up with Hillary's emails. And his campaign manager, Manafort, did give internal polling data to a member of Russian intelligence, Konstantin Kalimnik. So there are some evidences of a two-way street.
Well, this is a very complex story. And what it all means is, I know it's very difficult for us in 15 minutes to try and get these points across. It's very complex.